Hi, welcome to Kathy's Bible Chats. This is my very first one, so I'm so excited to invite you to join with me as I read through a Bible verse and talk about it. Okay, so let me give you some background. Our story takes place in Mark chapter 5. Specifically, I'm going to be reading verses 35 and 36. But before we do that, I want to give you a little background. So Jesus had just been over at the healed the demoniac, sent the demons into a herd of pigs, and they went off the cliff. And so the people said, "No, we don't want you here. Go away." So he goes by boat across the Sea of Galilee, and most people are saying that he lands in Capernaum. And so that's a rather large city. And so while he's there, one of the synagogue rulers, named Jairus, he comes to him and says, "Hey, my little girl is dying, and so I need you to come help heal her." And Jesus says, "Sure." And so while he's on the way, of course, it's very crowded. The woman with the issue of blood, she touches him and gets healed. And so there's a big long thing with that. And so we pick it up in verses 35 and 36. I have to use my glasses. While Jesus was still speaking, some men came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue ruler. "Your daughter is dead," they said. "Why bother the teacher anymore?" Ignoring what they said, Jesus told the synagogue ruler, "Don't be afraid, just believe." Have you ever heard any other phrase as wonderful as that? Okay, so Jairus, he does. He believes Jesus, and so he goes and he takes Jesus to his house where the girl is already dead. And you know the story. The people there, they're mourners. A lot of times in those days, they had professional mourners, and so they would hire people, or people would come specifically to mourn the dead. And so Jesus said, "Why are y'all mourning? She's just asleep." And they're all laughing at him like, "You're crazy. She's dead. She's not asleep. She's dead." And so Jesus puts them all out of the house. And he goes in and he heals the girl, calls her back from death, and she comes to life again. And what I want to zero in on is the fact that, okay, so Jairus, he comes to Jesus for a miracle. And while they're going, they're stopped multiple times. It's not just the woman with the blood, but there's other people that stop him. And I don't know, I would put myself into Jairus's place. I would feel frustrated, anxious, almost irritated, because my daughter is dying and these people are interrupting a possible healing. And so I would be a little bit upset. I'd be like, "Come on, Jesus, hurry up. Forget that person, that you can take care of them later. My need is more pressing." But he doesn't do that. He waits. And so he's patiently waiting. Well, probably not too patient, but he is waiting for Jesus to finish what his business is and go heal his daughter. And so not only has Jesus been delayed, all of a sudden his employees come to him and say, "Listen, dude, your daughter's gone. There's no hope anymore. Don't even bother Jesus anymore. She's gone. She's dead." And so can you imagine in that moment what Jairus is feeling? His entire hope was centered on Jesus going and healing his daughter. And he all of a sudden is faced with the fact that his daughter's no longer living. So I can imagine his heart is broken. He's thinking, "Well, yeah, what's the point?" But Jesus knows this. And so Jesus turns to him and says, wait, don't be afraid. Just believe." 4 words. Don't be afraid. Just believe. And so Jairus comes to a point where he has to make a choice. Is he going to believe the report from his employees that his daughter is dead, that there's no hope? Or is he going to believe Jesus, that there is still hope? And I am so happy to say he believes Jesus. And because of that, a miracle happened. His daughter came back to life. So these words are amazing. So in our life, there are times when we face things that are impossible, when your back is to the wall, when everything is stacked against you, when people are coming to you and saying, why even bother? Why even bother going to church? Why even bother reading the Bible? Why even bother praying? Why? It's hopeless. There's nothing there for you. It's not going to work. You're not going to get a miracle. You're not going to get that healing you need. You're not going to get deliverance that you need. You're not going to be happy and full of joy because life stinks and this is the way it is. So why bother? But I'm telling you that Jesus is telling you, don't be afraid. Just believe. Just believe Jesus. Believe God, because God's got a miracle for you. He's got something for you that you will not ever expect. Blessing upon blessing upon blessing. And yeah, sometimes our life is kind of rough. Sometimes we do go through those valleys of depression and lows and things that don't make sense. But I'm telling you, I am here to tell you, God loves you. And if you choose to believe the naysayers, if you choose to believe those who bring you a bad report, that's on you, what happens. But choosing to believe Jesus, to believe that God has something better for you, that your story doesn't end where you're at, that this low point in your life is not the end of life, because God is with you, I'm telling you, it'll totally change your perspective. Seeing life from Jesus's point of view changes everything, because Jesus knows. He knows. He knew that Jairus' daughter had already died. He already knew that, but he was still planning on going because he could see the end result. He saw the miracle through the pain. And that's what we have to do. We have to believe God. We need to trust God. And so if you're facing something difficult today, I'm not saying that God is like a magic cure-all, where he's just going to take a big eraser and wipe things out. Because yeah, sometimes we do suffer. Sometimes we do suffer consequences. Sometimes we experience things that are in direct result of our actions or someone else's actions. And it's not because of God. It's because of life. Life happens. But I know from personal experience that in those times when I'm feeling depressed, lonely, irritated, confused, hopeless, that even if my circumstances don't change, if I still believe in God, if I still believe Jesus' words that he tells me, don't be afraid, just believe, I know that somewhere along the line there's going to be a miracle. And it may not be bringing a dead person to life, but it'll bring my heart to life. It'll bring renewed joy and peace and happiness. And I know, yeah. So if you're facing something today, I just want to tell you what Jesus told me and what Jesus told Jairus. Don't be afraid. Just believe God. Have a good day. Bye.